Today I want to share with you our NIM workshop, which you can get 15 CPTD points for. In this course, we're going to be looking at what is occupational or educational kinesiology, all the what's and how it works, the history behind it, how did it all begin, and we're going to look at noticing some of these changes within us. We're also going to notice the background, the importance of movement to combat stress and learning barriers. In this course, we look at the 3 functional areas, a summary of brain organization, as well as different learning styles in order to teach and learn. What is educational or occupational kinesiology? Well, the word educational comes from the Latin word educare. This means to draw out. It puts the person at the center and asks what gifts and talents can I draw out, as opposed to what information I must stamp in. Occupation encompasses everything that you're occupied with, and this may also refer to your vocation in life. Kinesiology is the science of movement. And so we use our noticing skills to observe how people move, whether it would be with ease or without ease. We then further use movement as a means of learning. And with this, we can challenge learning blocks and move towards any goal that you might have. And so educational or occupational kinesiology is an empowering system that thus uses movement to draw out one's innate potential. Movement develops physical skills, or the physical skills of learning, helps with self-regulation, encourages purposeful play as well as symbolic thinking and aesthetic appreciation. What are some of the things we're going to find out in this course? So the human body moves in 3 basic directions, side to side, up and down, and forwards and backwards. Through giving access to what we in Educate call the 3 functional areas of whole brain learning, these 3 movement directions also give us access to optimal functioning. The 3 fundamental directional movements correlate with 3 basic cognitive and motor functions within the mind-body system. That's a lot of big words there, hey? So through the understanding and the using of these designed moves that you're going to be taught in later courses, you can understand how you may go about activating the brain to improve thinking, emotional stability, as well as to encourage participation and attention. I'm not sure what you see. Perhaps you see an infinity sign, but everybody who's done an Educate course will know or see when they look at this rather this lazy 8. And this lazy 8 has got so much meaning. We talk about it as well as the learning flow. And so, yes, I definitely encourage you to come along to our course and we can explain to you this learning flow. In this course, you will learn when and how to use movements from our 3 groups, as well as become aware of posture and balance. You will come to understand how movement is so important for brain development and to integrate new learning. Movement can shift people from fight or flight thinking to whole brain thinking in order to feel safe to learn. And so that is what the learning flow is all about, is being on track. And of course, as I say, that's something that you'll come to understand through this course. As we are on track, we are able to look at our resources in terms of our own skills that we've developed, our environment, the people around us who can support us. And with these resources, we are in a space where we're safe enough to step over the boundaries, to take a chance, to take a risk, to become curious. And all these things is exactly what learning is. As we step over these boundaries into this new space, and of course this is all represented in our lazy 8, you'll come to understand, we then can move slowly, we can take steps, we can pull things apart until we genuinely understand them, and they then too become part of our resources, part of the skills that we now have acquired, and can shift back over to that space where we're able to pull on these things in our own knowledge and experience. When we fall off this track, we either become bored, we might feel stuck, we might become frustrated, And that's because we don't have enough challenge perhaps in our life. Or if there's too much challenge and not enough support, we can be incredibly overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, worried. We might have racing thoughts, and we don't have the support we need to really take this new information over and create skills that we can draw on in future. So as I spoke about that last part, I'm wondering, do you feel stressed? Or can you think of a time where you perhaps were bored, feeling like there wasn't much challenge anymore, feeling stuck, feeling trapped? Or perhaps you're remembering a situation where you were completely overwhelmed with not enough support or resources to really get you through what this challenge was asking of you. And so, yes, this is one form of stress. There's other stresses in life, such as the toxins we're surrounded with, the toxins that we ingest in our food, as well as, being just overloaded, finding yourself in traffic, and of course the list can go on. And so let's take a look what happens with stress. And so when under stress, we may immediately notice a postural correlation, a difference in our posture. Okay, maybe you're sitting too far forward, hunched over, like trying to work harder. Maybe you're pulling back in your chair, procrastinating, and just not motivated to really deal with the stuff you need to. Maybe you're all up in your head, and of course your thoughts are racing at 1,000 miles an hour, or you're all down in your emotions, feeling down in the dumps. Okay, and so we lose our three-dimensional balance as such. So this is our physical, yes, as we look at the shifts in the body, but also our emotional balance and our thinking, the balance within having balanced, healthy, sound thoughts. At such times, then, we limit our three-dimensional movement. We're less open to learning and we're unable to generalize and stay on task. Until this balance is restored, we might cling to familiar situations, clinging back to something that was safe, okay? And thus hindering our new learning. As long as we feel stuck, fearful, confused, our compromised posture will keep us from living, loving, and our learning. Let's think about for a minute what happens when you do stress. So the first thing that happens is you hold your breath. The second thing is your eyes go big to take in the surroundings, to just make sure you are looking for the danger. And then you move as little as possible. You play dead, you play possum. And so that's why breathing must become shallow, because breathing in itself is moving and could give away your position to the danger that's out there. And then while all this is happening, little or less oxygen is really coming in. So then your brain really does start stressing. Out of water, food, and oxygen, obviously oxygen is the most important. We need that more than the other two. Our life depends on it, and in a matter of minutes, if we don't get that in, obviously things start switching off. So we absolutely need to get our oxygen back in. And so of course now the body is put under more stress, as of course it gets that signal, well, now I'm really in danger. And so when I can move and when I can breathe, I'm giving myself the signal that the danger has passed and that I am safe. So we teach these three functional or three movement spaces, that relate to muscle systems and correspond to three dimensions or functional areas within the brain. So those are different areas in the brain that obviously function with a certain purpose. And when we do this, we provide access to postural, so that's the physical, as well as the functional information. So functional information goes beyond that. It is, yes, the physical, but it's also the mental and the emotional information that the body needs to thrive. So why would you choose this workshop? Why would you choose this approach? Well, this approach allows you to work with a single child or a single person, as well as a group. And so, yes, you might be a parent working with your child. You might be a teacher working with a class. You might even be a person working with the elderly, and in that again you can work with somebody in a group or somebody by themselves with that. In terms of teaching, it creates a stress-free teaching and learning space. It helps with things like reading, writing, maths, communication, organization skills, and yes, even discipline. It can be done in less than 5 minutes in very little space with no equipment. It's suitable to all situations and learning styles. It gets all those involved in learning on the same page. And so if you had to do our OBO course or the dominance factor, you would come to learn that when we're stressed, each of us have got a very unique way in which we organize our brains. And so when you've got 32 stressed individuals in a classroom, you are going to have 32 different ways that these children have organized their brains. And because they are in fight or flight, some of them might not be able to read properly, some might not be able to hear, some might not be able to communicate or write properly, and others might not even be able to work or even know where to start in terms of the work in front of them. Some of these children might even have a combination of a few of these limitations as they sit in your class. And so how do you teach 32 different profiles? Do you need 32 different teaching styles? And so movement and breathing are the ways in which we take these children from fight or flight, limited thinking, from these profiles or these brain organizations back to whole brain thinking, where they can all access the whole brain and all their parts in order to learn more as a whole and in a more inclusive manner. So yes, more inclusive, it also increases self-esteem, because when I start realizing how well I can do when I'm not stressed, it builds into the fact that I am capable and that I am clever, I am smart, I am unique. It also promotes long-term demonstratable results, and it offers opportunities to be done as much as possible or as often as possible. You don't have to take them off once a week to a session. You can use this movement in every class, in every subject, as many times in a day as you feel you need to in order to have these children access their gifted space. So, changing lives since the 1970s is Paul Dennison and Gail Dennison. So in the 1960s, Paul Dennison started research into a reading achievement and brain development that would form the basis of his brain gym work. Working alongside a developmental optometrist, Paul Dennison offered his students a full program in sensory development, including a few simple movements. These movements sparked ideas for the entire brain gym program. In 1975, at the University of South Carolina, Paul received a Phi Delta Award for outstanding research. He was granted a doctorate in education for his research. He has written many books and manuals, to name two, Brain Gym and Me, and Reclaiming the Pleasure of Learning. Gail E. Dennison is the co-creator with Paul, an artist and movement education who became his wife and collaborator. In 1987, the Dennisons established Educational Kinesiology Foundation as a non-profit organization that is now known as Breakthroughs International. What will you be learning? Well, first of all, we want you to experience the difference between functioning when stressed and functioning when relaxed. We want to see how you think, how you feel, and we want you to notice the sensations in your body with both. We want you to consider your own life wheel. How is your life going? Notice what the body sees as stress and learn about what inhibits learning while we learn about the beautiful brain. Learn about the power of thinking and why it's important to have a good mindset, and learn how to ensure that you are in the learning flow. For those of you who enjoy this course, there's a lot of potential to grow from this space. So yes, you might be taking a course here and a course there just out of interest's sake, but perhaps when you come to understand how powerful movement is, you might want to become a movement facilitator. And so the next course in our learning track is exactly that, movement facilitator, where we teach you our moves and you then will try them on, learn the variations, as well as learn when to use them and how to use them in the class. Because this is so inspiring, many people want to not just be a movement facilitator, but they actually want to be able to train their colleagues and other like-minded people in the work. And so in order to become a movement facilitator instructor, you then will need to do Brain Gym 101 and Brain Gym 10. And so by completing 3 courses, you yourself will be equipped to train up other people in this work. If you'd like to consider becoming an educational kinesiologist, you then can continue further up this route. You can look at doing in-depth, you can look at doing optimal brain organization, one of my personal favorites. You then get to choose from a whole range of courses, some of them that you find interesting that will add to your hours and your credits as you move up this ladder. You then will move on to becoming or doing practitioner 1 and a practitioner 2. And finally, you're going to complete your teacher's practicum, where we ensure that you're ready to be able to instruct, to see your own clients, as well as to be able to start training in some of the work. So just take a few moments to perhaps look at this little life wheel. If you have 0 in the middle of each of these little sections on this wheel, our little spokes, and 10 is around the rim, a nice round wheel, where would you map each of these? Would you get a 4 out of 10 for spiritual life? Would you be getting for work or school perhaps a 6? Social maybe a 6 or 7, emotional perhaps a 5, mental clarity maybe, I don't know, a 7 perhaps, family, sure, maybe you're not spending much time there, perhaps a 5 or a 4, physical maybe it would be a 3, and financial perhaps you're doing really well and you're about an 8. I would like you to consider where you'd fall on each of these, and then if you had to connect them, what shape would your wheel be? You know, so often in life we think, if I just have one area that's not so great, or if I've got a few that's not so great, it's okay because the others keep me going. I just want to remind you of the wheel and this lovely joke. So no, if a wheel is flat at one side or lacking in one space, it affects the entire wheel. We know when we get a puncture in our tire that we cannot keep driving even though it only seems like the bottom is flat, because that entire wheel is compromised. So how can we help you? Perhaps if you're feeling stuck and you don't even know where to start, this would be a good little exercise. And so I think the first question is, do you have a particular goal in mind? If no, then of course you can follow that down, and perhaps you would want to book a profiling session. Profiling sessions may become balances after that, and from there you might be looking at doing a course if you're really inspired by the work. Other people tend to know what they want, and so yes, they can then book a balance, and so you can follow that thread. Yes, I know what my goal is. I have dreams and goals for myself that I want to achieve. Okay, or no, and so the goals might involve my children, and then I perhaps want to do a course or a workshop to better equip myself. And so just take a few minutes there and answer for yourself and see perhaps where it is that we can help you. So if you're looking to do some courses, obviously this one is NIM, where we've got 15 SACE or CPTD points. We've also got our movement facilitator for the same amount of points. Brain Gym 101, same amount of points. Optimal brain organization, the same. Hands-on, also another 15 CPTD points, and in that course we look at how we can really get teachers going using the work. And this course put together by a remedial teacher and occupational therapist who uses the work. 2 left feet, 5 CPTD points. Fundamentals reading and writing, 10 points. Unpacking behavior for moms, dads and teachers who need to understand their children's behavior, 10 points. Solutions to impaired concentration, 10 points. Autism short course, 10 points. And movement-based learning, another really awesome short course that offers 10 CPTD points.